Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling. I shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawn. Hello, today, where we'll be talking about, I don't really know what we're going to be talking about. We're just going to sort of be chilling. I'm doing a bit of drawing here and there. I'm also doing a bit of Neopets. Just turn my tablet on. As I finished watching Escape the Bloodkeep, the series 2 for Dimension 20. It was pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and say it was bad or anything. I thought it was pretty good. Good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 9:32 p.m. on Friday, August 2nd, 2024. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I don't know what else to say about this. To be perfectly honest, I was just gonna look up like how long is left on Art Fight. Minus 2.5 hours, so it would end at 7 p.m. Okay, noted. Yeah, what was I going to say? I immediately forgot. Oh yeah, Escape the Bloodkeep. Yeah, if you don't know, it's a series 2 of Dimension 20, which is just like, you know, the people of Dropout, which used to be known as College Humor, playing through a campaign. This one was a much shorter one. So it was like a one-shot quote, but still it took place over, you know, multiple days. Well, 2 days, but 6 episodes or something, which I cannot, that must be an absolute marathon of a play session. And I cannot even imagine DMing for that long, but I guess he probably had a lot of time to prepare it, so who knows. Yeah. It's an interesting one because it's basically like an evil campaign. Where did my hairband just go? I just dropped my scrunchie on the floor. But yeah, it's like an evil campaign where they're playing like evil characters, but then by the end, I suppose, spoilers, it becomes actually quite wholesome, if anything. Yeah, but it definitely got me thinking about like evil characters again and their sort of like likability. I'm not sure coefficients is the right word, but like, you know, how likable characters are. Because I was thinking about this once again. I brought this up like ages ago, actually for the same game, Honkai Star Rail, not sponsored or anything. But there's a new character called Yunli in the game, and apparently she's a bit like indignant, as I understand it. I haven't played through the story quest yet. This is just what I've heard, but she's like a bit of a brat or something. And then like there's so many, like, well, not so many, but there was like a decent amount of posts that I saw on the subreddit of people just being like, I strongly dislike this character, why does this happen, why does this happen, why does this happen, or something like this. And it got me thinking, because I brought this up last time for Star Rail as well. We're gonna have this sit down episode for a character called Topaz, who is basically a debt collector who has, like, you know, I don't know if she's necessarily like evil. I mean, you can obviously like sit there and be like, oh, capitalism evil. But I feel like that's a bit of a naive like reading of a story. She's much more sort of just like very lawful, neutral or something. Like she's here and they had a debt and she's come to collect or something. And does it skew good? Does it skew evil? I don't know. Maybe that's not for me to decide. And either way, it's besides the point, where she's not like a goody two shoes. She's like antagonistic, I suppose. And like some people's reactions to it just make me go like, man, some people, I'm not gonna say everyone, obviously, and I think a lot of people are very reasonable with it, cannot handle antagonistic characters, which is like fair, because like to a certain extent, you always want your like player characters to be antagonistic, etc., etc. I don't know, but anyway, Escape from the Bloodkeep was an interesting sort of perspective into this, where everyone was basically evil, well, theoretically. We've all done like very bad like things, but like it was portrayed in a way which is like comically evil, which is like they had like a talkback episode about it, which I guess what I'm going to talk about today. But it's like this concept of like comically evil, like provided you have like not an extremely narrow viewpoint of a world, we are aware that bad things happen in the world like all the time. And I don't mean this as like a down episode. I know that this Animal Crossing is meant to be like a quiet, like nice sort of like escape from that. So that's all like I'll really say on that. Like bad things happen, yeah. But then like the portrayal of evil things in media can read very differently, is what I might say. Like, I'm trying to think, who do people think is like one of those evil characters? Like, I mean, let's talk about The Boys, because that's a very relevant thing. People hate like Homelander, I think that's his name, because of like how like evil he is. But then if you think about it, there's also like evil characters who are like extremely evil in like kids shows or something. Well, maybe not kid shows, because like I said, less explicitly say it, but I'm trying to think of a good like example off the top of my head. But like a character who's like super evil, who's like massacred like hundreds and hundreds of people, like engaged in like a brutal war which like wiped out half a population or something like that in narrative stories. But there becomes a point where like evil things become so comically evil that it doesn't feel evil anymore. It's not that it doesn't feel evil anymore, but just like your instinct is like, this isn't even conceivable, so how can I even grasp it as like a evil to be feared, you know? Does that make sense? Like, what I'm basically saying here is like the distinction between something which is realistically evil and comically evil, and how that sort of reads. I wish I could think of a good example off the top of my head. Who is like a comically evil character in fiction, who is just like so insanely evil, but like in a very comical way. I don't know why the first thing I thought of was like Ainz from the anime Overlord, because one, I've not even seen that anime, so I don't actually know. But he's like he is literally like the dark evil lord, right? He's like slaughtered hundreds, thousands of people or something, right? He's a very evil villain, but because I suppose it's sort of like comically evil, like all the things he's done probably outnumber like some of the actual like bad protagonists or something in that world, right? It just like, it's almost like it gets muddied in a sense, which is a very interesting plot point, or a very interesting sort of concept, because it's sort of, it kind of that concept allows this Escape from a Bloodkeep campaign to actually like function, right? Because otherwise, if you can very easily see a situation, you watch like Escape from Bloodkeep, and they all play very realistically evil characters. People aren't gonna like it, right? Because it's gonna be like, I hate these characters, but actually like evil. Like, oh, I saw someone, and like someone you like hate in real life, or someone you've had like terrible experiences, or like I see them in this character, I hate how they're playing it, etc., etc. But because they're so comically evil, it's just, I guess the long and short of what I'm trying to say is, it's weird how comically there's like a evilness. And I would like to establish multiple times, over and over again, I'm talking about fiction. This is not about reality. I'm talking about portrayals of characters in fiction, not reality. But there's almost like an evilness, uncanny valley, where it's sort of like, okay, this person is so evil. It's sort of like, it like jumps the shark to a point where it's just like, not that it's still evil, not that it's not evil anymore, but it's sort of just like, I can't even conceive of how evil it is anymore. I've sort of like, it has no bearing on reality in my mind anymore, is what I mean. I wonder if there's like a word for this sort of trope, just sort of like crossing the evil threshold or something. Let's see. TV trope, comically evil, laughably evil. Who's laughably evil. Special attention goes to villains that make you laugh. I don't mean it like in the Joker sense, like laughably evil, but sort of just like, I was trying to think of a good example. The only other thing I can think of, because I just saw that, was like Mammon from Hell of a Boss, but I don't actually know how evil they are. For one, not seen Hell of a Boss, I kind of just know vaguely, but they're all like demons in hell, right? They've all probably done evil things, and probably whoever the antagonist is in that story is probably like comically evil, right? Where like, it's kind of, I don't know how to put this properly, except for the scale of like deeds and things they've done, sort of like muddy the waters a bit. And now I think about it, it almost certainly goes the other way as well. Like, I'm trying to think, like, a good character, is one who's relatable, one who faced hardships but still like perseveres, and one who is tempted maybe by evil deeds but still manages to choose a good option in the end, or doesn't always do the best thing but still tries to be good. That sort of like feels like a very sort of earnest, down to earth goodness. But then a character who was like too good, too perfect, like I guess you would call him a Mary Sue, right, or Gary Stu, is just so perfect that it's not even conceivable anymore. It doesn't, like, at least on me, it doesn't like personally register in my brain being like, oh yeah, this character is like the beacon and pinnacle of all goodness, because I suppose it's so unrealistic, right? Oh, this is a much better, like Skeletor, right? Like, I haven't seen He-Man, but Skeletor is probably like a super evil person, and I'd imagine he's implied to have like done evil, tyrannical things, but he's just like so comically evil. It's just like, can you really believe it? I suppose in that sense. I don't know. Yeah, too funny to be evil. Is this what I mean? Villain with good publicity. Here's after much strife and time I have finally evil plans public against winds of this, they discredit or proof in place so they know how to court public opinion. Oh. Kick the dog trope. What does this even mean? Character does something evil, cruel, or very mean for no apparent gain because, yeah. Well, okay. I guess that's kind of it. Like, the kick the dog trope is basically someone being like, oh, I want to establish this character as evil. I'm going to make them do an evil thing with really, like, no motivation behind it. Just so it's, like, comically evil. They have a picture of, Gru from Despicable Me hit popping a child's balloon, which I assume happens in Despicable Me 1, because by the time related Despicable Me's happen, actually that's a good point as well. Despicable Me's, like, the entire concept is that Gru is a villain, right? But he's sort of like a comical villain in a sense where if you think about it, like, his I don't know really how successful he is as a villain, sort of doesn't work out in the end, right? It's sort of, I guess what I mean to say is like the impact of it feels like it doesn't hold if they're too comically evil, if they like jump the shark of evilness. There needs to be a good example of this. But I was just thinking about that in Escape for Bloodkeep, right? And because they had a talk back about it, Brendan Lee Mulligan, the DM, actually spoke about it, being like, oh yeah, there's this concept of like you have to cross the sort of like comically evil threshold, otherwise it becomes like, you know, uncomfortable, right? You know, there's one thing, it's just like, oh, this is a very real sort of evil being portrayed right now by one of the characters, which is one thing, but because this at the end of the day was like a comedy campaign, you got to kind of like push it even further to just make it so silly evil that people just like, you know, almost like end up rooting for the bad guys in a way. And I don't know, like, again, reiterate, talking about fiction, not talking about reality, despite the fact I'm saying like realistically evil and stuff. The detachment, I suppose, of fiction and reality like exists in a sense where like some things can be detached from it, some things can't, right? Like how your own personal reaction to it is not something that you can detach from reality, even if it is a fictional character, fictional story. Like if you have a like actual real reaction to it, then so be it. But like it's other things you can detach, like if people like evil characters. This is a topic I talked about last time. I was like, you can like evil characters, like fine, you know, you can like an evil character. It doesn't mean you like empathize them. It doesn't mean you're like, I want to be like our character or anything. Liking something doesn't have to necessitate wanting to embody it or wanting to mirror it in that sense. It can be appreciating it for, you know, at the end of the day, a lot of fiction work is an art form. You know, being able to appreciate an evil character who's so well written that they just like make your blood boil or something. Or you just got to be like, I appreciate like how conniving this villain is, but just always like one step ahead. Liking a character like that doesn't, in my opinion, shouldn't reflect on your personality or who you are as a person, right? They should be disparate things. I mean, I suppose it's one thing if a character is written, like, objectively badly or something, but it's a whole nother thing when they're not, right? Anyway, this sort of, like, leans into it a bit more, I suppose, because when a character is so comically evil, I suppose there isn't this pushback anymore. If a character is, like, realistically evil, like, in a way which is, you know, deeply uncomfortable, I suppose, then I suppose most people would probably have a sort of very like reaction if you're like, oh, that's my favorite character in the show. But if a character is like so comically evil, it's like over the top how evil they are, or they're even like evil incompetent or something, saying they're your favorite character of the show makes people go, haha, yeah, so true. Like the only one I can think of is Game of Thrones now, right? But I haven't even seen that. I don't know, I can only think of media properties I've not indulged, like I've not ingested. But like like Joffrey or something is like a horribly evil character that people despise, right? And I feel like if most people would just be like, oh, you know, I Joffrey's my favorite character. I feel like at least in the heyday of Game of Thrones, people would be like, what? Joffrey's your favorite character? But I don't know if there's an evil character who's particularly comical, so I can't continue with Game of Thrones analogy here. But like, what is that threshold, or when a character becomes so comically evil, they sort of like pass that boundary, where it's not that like it's okay or it's accepted, but it's like, I guess what it is, it's like the detachment from reality boundary. Once they go far enough away from like the realms of reality or what people might even conceivably do, that's kind of when you're just like, oh, you know, this character can't exist in real life. You can sort of appreciate them as a character rather than reflecting like your own life experiences, or seeing them within reality, or as part of like a reality, or like a reflection of an ecosystem of reality. I guess that's kind of a key part of it, is the character needs to be so comically evil that they push past that boundary and start being like, oh, you know, this character is completely off a wall, crazy evil. That's so fictional that even I cannot feasibly conceive myself around it. Like, I cannot feasibly see a reflection of society or something in it, and thus the layer of detachment is that thus that character is something which no longer seems evil in a sort of like weird paradoxical sense. You get what I'm saying? Even I don't know if I know what I'm saying. Anyway, it's hot, so maybe I'm just sort of rambling delusionally. And sooner or later I'll start my next Dimension 20 campaign about which takes place in New York City. But yeah, big stretch. It's so hot right now in the UK is all I can say. And I'm starting to get a little bit sleepy, a little bit eepy, as they might say. But yeah, I did all my Neopets Battle Doming stuff, and you know, I guess I'll do like what other dailies I've got on my phone. I'm just trying to think, like, there must be like a good example. Maybe if I think of like I feel like Paradise Witness is kind of like a point to that, right? Because if you actually think about Paradise Killer, not Paradise Witness. Spoilers, I suppose, for Paradise Killer then, you know, if you don't want to be spoiled, then don't watch this thing. But TLDR, like, all the people in Paradise Killer are actually like really terrible people. Like, the entire society is built on basically enslaving like and kidnapping human mortal populations, and then when they're done and used don't need them anymore, they just like murder them all. And this like crazy blood sacrifice thing, which is really, really messed up if you think about it in the slightest. But the characters are like so endearing and so charming, and even the evil characters who've done like really bad, horrible things, sort of just like, oh, they're endearing and weird. Like I said this, or like I constantly said this, being like, I really like Witness as a character. It's a shame that he was just like did such a horrible thing of, you know, trying to like kill the entire council or something, right? It's things like that where you just sort of think about it and be like, wow. No, never really, well, at least I haven't really thought of it from that perspective much before. Just this sort of concept sitting here of like, oh, you know, should I like this character, should I not like this character? I don't know. But theoretically there should be nothing wrong with it, but still it's sort of like they need to be evil, they need to be this evil for it to be acceptable for you to like this character, which is not how it should be, but I understand why that sort of intrinsic feeling is there. Anyway, comically evil. I think I'm going to round this episode off here. So if you haven't watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, don't get bitten. Immediately got bitten. Couldn't really do much about that. So until next time, bye-bye for now.